At the end of the topic, you will be able to define fungi, explain the salient features of fungi, identify the position of fungi in Whittaker's classification, list out the divisions in the kingdom fungi, discriminate the nutritional modifications in fungi, summarize the useful and harmful effects of fungi. Fungi may be unicellular or multicellular. Yeast is a unicellular fungi. Rhizopus, Agaricus, Aspergillus are the good examples for multicellular. Fungi lack chlorophyll, so they are often called as non-green organisms. Fungi body is made up of thread-like structures called hyphae. Collection of hyphae is termed as mycelium. Cell wall of fungi is made up of a substance called chitin. It reproduces by sexual or asexual methods. Fungi are placed in a third position under separate kingdom in Whittaker's classification. Kingdom fungi has important 4 divisions, namely Zygomycota, example bread mold; Ascomycota, example Peziza; Basidiomycota, example toadstool; Deuteromycota, example Penicillium. Based on nutrition, fungi are classified into 3 types such as parasites are the fungi which live on other living organisms, example Puccinia. Saprophytes are the fungi which live on dead and decaying matter, example Agaricus, Rhizopus. Symbionts are the fungi which are associated with other plants, and there are 2 types, namely lichen and mycorrhiza. Lichen is the composite organisms where fungi are associated with algae. In mycorrhiza, fungi are associated with the roots of higher plants. Fungi are used as food. Antibiotics are prepared from fungi. Some fungi are useful in synthesizing vitamins. Mushroom is the most common edible fungi, but not all mushrooms are edible. There are 2000 species of mushrooms which are edible. They are rich in protein and minerals. The most commonly eaten mushroom is Agaricus, which is commonly called as button mushroom. Some of the edible mushrooms are Agaricus campestris, Agaricus bisporus, etc. The example of poisonous mushrooms are toadstools, Amanita muscaria, death cup, Amanita phalloides, etc. Poisonous mushrooms are highly brightly colored. Antibiotic is a chemical substance extracted from a living organism to kill or arrest the growth of other living organism. The antibiotic penicillin is extracted from fungi Penicillium. The other common antibiotics are streptomycin, neomycin, kanamycin, gentamicin, and erythromycin. Vitamin B, riboflavin, is synthesized from the fungi Ashbia gossypi and Erythromycin ashbei. Though some fungi are beneficial, there are some that cause diseases to human beings, plants, and animals. In humans, it causes the disease mycosis, which grow on skin, nails, hair, organs, athlete's foot, ringworm, etc. In animals, it causes the diseases ergot, athlete's foot, etc. In plants, it causes rust, black rot, black spot, canker, smut, etc. In this topic, you have learnt fungi are mostly multicellular except yeast, which is unicellular. The plant body is filamentous, called hyphae, lack chlorophyll, with chitinous cell wall having both asexual and sexual reproduction. Fungi has 4 divisions, namely Zygomycota, Ascomycota, Basidiomycota, and Deuteromycota. Based on nutrition, fungi are classified into 3 types such as parasites, saprophytes, and symbionts. Puccinia is a parasite which lives on other living organisms. Agaricus is a saprophyte which live on dead and decaying matter, whereas symbionts are associated with other plants and having 2 types, namely lichens, which combined with algae and mycorrhizae have an association with roots of higher plants. Fungi such as Agaricus bisporus are used as food, and there are 2000 types of edible mushroom available, but toadstool and death cup are toxic and poisonous. An antibiotic like penicillin, streptomycin, erythromycin, etc. is extracted from fungi, and Ashbei gossypi and Erythromycin ashbei are useful in the production of vitamins. Fungi does cause diseases to humans, animals, and plants, and some of the common diseases are mycosis in man, ergot in animal, smut and rust in plants. At the end of the topic, you will be able to explain the salient features of algae, Categorize the algae on the basis of their photosynthetic pigments. Enumerate the different methods of reproduction in algae. List out the uses of algae. Draw a conclusion of using algae in space trips. Algae, generally called seaweeds, are the lowest, simplest and primitive plants with chlorophyll. They are autotrophs and prepare their own food. They are mostly green but sometimes brown or red and dwell in water. They may be unicellular or multicellular. Their body is ribbon-like and not differentiated into root, stem or leaf. They may be simple filamentous or branched or heavily branched like a tree. Their cell wall is made up of cellulose. They reproduce by vegetative, asexual and sexual methods. Algae reproduce vegetatively by fragmentation. Example, Spirogyra. They produce various types of spores in asexual reproduction. Sexually, they go for either conjugation or producing gametes. There are two types of conjugations, namely scalariform and lateral conjugation, and both the types are observed in Spirogyra. Advanced reproductive structures like Antheridia and Archegonia are seen in the red algae, Chara. Algae are classified on the basis of their color, photosynthetic pigments and reserve food. Oscillatoria belongs to Cyanophyta, which is the primitive form having the pigment phycoxanthin with the cyanophycean starch as a reserve food material. The class Chlorophyta has green color chlorophyll pigment with starch as a reserve food material. The class Chlorophyta has green color chlorophyll pigment with starch as a reserve food material, and most of the algae belong to this class from unicellular Chlamydomonas to multicellular Zygonema. The class Phaeophyta has brown pigment called fucoxanthin with laminarian starch as a reserve food. Sargassum is the classic example of this class. The class Rhodophyta's pigment is red-colored phycoerythrin with Floridian starch. A well-branched Polysiphonia belong to this class. Algae like Ulva, Laminaria, Sargassum and Chlorella are used as food by human beings, domestic animals and fishes. The salt iodine is obtained from the brown algae Laminaria. Chlorella pyrenoidosa is used in space travel as it absorbs carbon dioxide quickly and helps in decomposing human urine and other body wastes in spaceships. Agar-agar is a substance obtained from the red algae, Gelidium and Gracilaria. It is used to make ice creams. It is the best solidifying agent in culture medium. It is widely used in tissue culture labs to grow plants in test tubes. In this topic, you have learnt algae are primitive autotrophs, unicellular or multicellular, having ribbon-shaped body without root, stem or leaf. Their cell wall is made up of cellulose and reproduces by vegetative, asexual and sexual methods. Spirogyra reproduces by fragmentation and conjugation methods, but Chara possesses Antheridia and Archegonia for reproduction. Algae are classified on the basis of their color, photosynthetic pigments and reserve food, and they have important four classes like Cyanophyta, Chlorophyta, Phaeophyta and Rhodophyta. Algae like Ulva, Laminaria, Sargassum and Chlorella are used as food. The chemical substance agar-agar is obtained from Gelidium and Gracilia, which is a good solidifying agent used in ice cream industries, culture medium and tissue culture labs. Laminaria is used to extract iodine and Chlorella pyrenoidosa is used in space travel. At the end of the topic, you will be able to explain the salient features of bryophytes, explain the phenomenon of alternation and generation, categorize the bryophytes into three different classes, list out the uses of bryophytes. Bryophytes are the first plants to come out of water to get adapted to live on the land, so they are called as first land plants. They usually cover the trees and rocks of hilly areas like a thick green carpet. The bryophytes or mosses has root-like, stem-like and leaf-like structure. The bryophyte plant body is gametophyte in nature. They show alternation of generation, that is, the gametophytic plant body which produces gametes is alternate with sporophyte which produces spores. The alternation of gametophyte with sporophyte is called as alternation of generation. They reproduce by asexual and sexual methods but can reproduce only in the presence of water. Hence they are called amphibious plants or amphibious cryptogams. In asexual reproduction, they produce gemma and fragments. In sexual reproduction, they produce gametes. Bryophytes are grouped into three classes, namely Hepaticae, Anthocerotae, Muscae. The class Hepaticae members has undifferentiated thallus. Protonymal stage is absent. Example, Riccia. The class Anthocerotae's sporophytic plant body is differentiated into seta and capsule. Protonomal stage is absent. Example, Anthoceros. The class Muscae is advanced of all. Gametophytic plant body is differentiated into root-like, stem-like and leaf-like organs. Protonomal stage is present. Example, Funaria. Bryophytes control soil erosion as they form a carpet over the soil. A dried peat moss or sphagnum is used as fuel. Sphagnum is also used as antiseptic and absorbent bandage in the hospitals. Sphagnum is also used as seedbed in greenhouses. In this topic, you have learnt bryophytes are the first land plants to adapt to land but reproduce only in the presence of water, so it is called as amphibious cryptogams. The bryophyte's plant body is gametophyte, which has root-like, stem-like and leaf-like structures, reproduced by asexual and sexual methods. The gametophytic plant body produces gametes, alternate with sporophyte, which produce spores and shows alternation of generation. Bryophyta has three classes, namely Hepaticae, Anthocerotae and Muscae. Hepaticae has undifferentiated thallus without protonema. Anthocerotae's sporophytic plant body is differentiated into seta and capsule without protonema, and Muscae's plant body is differentiated into root-like, stem-like and leaf-like organs with protonema. At the end of this topic, you will be able to estimate the age of pteridophytes in this planet, explain the salient features of pteridophytes, categorize the pteridophytes into 4 different classes, list out the uses of pteridophytes. Pteridophytes are the first true land plants to possess vascular bundles, that is, xylem and phloem, but they are seedless. Pteridophytes are specially called as vascular cryptogams as they possess vascular tissue for the first time under cryptogams category. Pteridophytes have been living in this planet since Jurassic period. Pteridophytes' plant body is sporophyte. Their stem is an underground rhizome. They possess gorgeous leaves which are called as fronds. When the leaves bear sporangia on the ventral or lower side, it is called sporophyll. The pteridophyte Salanginella possesses 2 types of leaves, hence it is called dimorphic leaves. They reproduce by means of spores. Spores may be homosporous or heterosporous. They show alternation of generation, that is, the sporophytic plant body which produce spores is alternate with gamophytes which produce gametes. The alternation of sporophyte with gametophyte is called as alternation of generation. Pteridophytes have been divided into 4 classes, namely Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida. Coelotum is the type genus of the class Coelopsida, the name with Lycopodium for Lycopsida. Equisetum is the only surviving genus of the class Sphenopsida, and the advanced Nephrolepis belong to the class Pteropsida. Pteridophytes are grown as ornamental plants for their beautiful fronds. Marsilia is used as food. Dryopteris is used as vermifuge. Lycopodium powder is used as medicine. In this topic, you have learnt pteridophytes are the first true land plants which possess vascular tissue to conduct water and food, and they have been living since Jurassic period. Pteridophyte's plant body is sporophyte, having rhizome and beautiful leaves called fronds. Spores are produced during reproduction on the lower side of the leaf, which is called as sporophyll, and the spores may be homosporous or heterosporous. Sporophytic plant body alternate with gametophytic plant body and shows prominent alternation of generation. Pteridophytes have been divided into 4 classes, namely Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida. Pteridophytes are used as ornamental plants, food, vermifuge and medicine. At the end of this topic, you will be able to explain the salient features of gymnosperms, categorize the gymnosperm into 4 different classes, point out the features of cycadales, recognize the species of gink gulls, identify the cone-shaped coniferales and its cones, tell the advanced character of nitales, list out the use of gymnosperms. Plant body is sporophyte and differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Root system is a well-developed taproot system. Leaves are varying in nature. Gymnosperm has secondary growth and secondary thickening. They have both sporophytic and gametophytic phases in its life cycle. Cones are the reproductive organs. Most of the gymnosperms produce male and female cones separately. Gymnosperms have been classified into 4 different classes, namely cycadales, which are primitive, and cycas is the best example. Ginkgos with single living species, Ginkgo biloba, coniferales with cone-shaped pinus trees, and netales with advanced netem plant. Cycadales members are palm-like small plants. Stem is erect and unbranched. Leaves are pinnately compound and form a crown. Taproot system has mycorrhizal association and form a coralloid roots. The best example for cycadales is cycas. Ginkgos has the only living species called Ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba is a large tree with fan-shaped leaves. The smell from these leaves is offensive. Pinus belongs to coniferales. They are evergreen trees with cone-like appearance. There are 2 types of leaves, namely needle leaves and scale leaves. Seeds possess wings which help for pollination. Netales are small group of plants with advanced characters. Cones are flower-like. Ovules are naked. The wood, like pine, cedar and fir, are used to manufacture furniture, pencils and matchstick. Timber, oils and resins are produced from pinus. Resins are used in the manufacturing of paints, ointments and varnishes. An alkaloid, ephedrine, is extracted from ephedra, which cures asthma. Netem is used to cure rheumatism. Agathis is used in the manufacturing of paper, pulps and paper. Araucaria plant, which is commonly called as monkey's puzzle, is grown for ornamental purpose. In this topic, you have learnt plant body of gymnosperms is sporophyte and it is differentiated into root, stem and leaf. They have well-developed taproot system with different types of leaves. Secondary growth is common and reproduction is by a special structure called cones. Both sporophytic and gametophytic phases are seen in its life cycle. Gymnosperms have been classified into 4 different classes, namely cycadales, which are primitive, and cycas is the best example. Ginkgos with single living species, Ginkgo biloba, coniferales with cone-shaped pinus trees, and netales with advanced netem plant. Gymnosperms are used for ornamental purpose and yield timber for manufacturing furniture, pencils, matchstick, paper pulps, and paper. Oils and resins from pinus are used in paint industry. Ephedra and netem are used to extract medicine which cures asthma and rheumatism respectively. At the end of this topic, you will be able to explain the salient features of angiosperms, categorize the angiosperm into 2 classes, differentiate dicots from monocots, illustrate the anatomy of root, distinguish the monocot root from dicot root, label the parts of a dicot stem, draw the neat diagram of leaf, discriminate the dorsiventral leaf from isobilateral leaf. Angiosperms are flowering plants which forms a major group of seed plants with at least 260,000 living species. They are the sources for food, clothing fibers, medicine and timber. They are ubiquitous and occupy almost all the habitat on earth except some extreme environments. They can be small herbs, shrubs, lianes or giant trees. Conducting tissues are well developed. Secondary growth is prominent with bark. Ovules are enclosed within the carpels of ovary. After fertilization, ovaries modified into fruit. Ovules become seeds and seeds have cotyledons. Angiosperms have been divided into 2 major groups or classes, namely dicotyledons and monocotyledons. Monocotyledons are the plants having only one cotyledon in their seeds. They have fibrous root system. Their leaves show parallel venation. In flower, calyx and corolla are fused to form perianth. Floral parts are either 3 or the set of 3. Examples: grass, paddy, maize, wheat. Dicotyledons are the plants having 2 cotyledons in their seeds. They have taproot system. Their leaves show reticulate venation. In flower, calyx and corolla are very well differentiated. Floral parts are 4 to 5 or the sets of 4 to 5. Examples: bean, pea, mango, neem. The outermost layer of the root is called as rhizodermis, which give rise to unicellular root hairs. Cortex is the next layer which is meant for conduction and storage. Vascular bundle consists of xylem and phloem. The xylem vessels transport water from roots to the various parts of the plant. The phloem translocates food from leaves to other parts of the plant. Dicot root possesses bundles called tetrarch condition. Monocot roots possess many vascular bundles called polyarch condition. There is a tissue present between xylem and phloem called conjunctive tissue. Center of the root is occupied by pith, which helps in storage. Pith is always seen in monocot and rarely present in dicot. The outermost layer of the stem is epidermis, which is covered by cuticle. Cuticle is often coated by waxy substances. Epidermis is made up of barrel-shaped cells which protects the stem and produces multicellular epidermal hairs. Cortex is the next layer and it is divided into three layers, namely collenchyma, chlorenchyma and parenchyma. Chlorenchyma consists of thick-walled cells which gives mechanical support. Chlorenchyma consists of thin-walled cells filled with chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Parenchyma consists of a thin-walled cell which helps in storage and ventilation. Endodermis is the innermost layer of cortex which is otherwise called a starch sheath, made up of barrel-shaped cells and helps in protection and conduction. Pericycle is the outermost layer of the vascular bundle which is made of parenchyma and sclerenchyma alternatively. Vascular bundle consists of xylem for conducting water, phloem for translocating food and cambium for secondary growth. Medullary ray are the cells made of parenchyma which extends between vascular bundles. Pith is present in the center of the stem made of parenchyma cells meant for conduction. The outermost layer of the leaf is cuticle which covers both upper and lower epidermis. Upper and lower epidermis are made up of barrel-shaped cells wherein upper epidermis is meant for protection and lower epidermis is meant for gaseous exchange and transpiration due to the presence of stomata. In between the upper and lower epidermis is occupied by a tissue called mesophyll tissue which has palisade and spongy parenchyma. Palisade parenchyma is cylindrical with enormous chlorophyll and helps in photosynthesis. Spongy parenchyma is oval or round-shaped without chlorophyll and helps in storage and conduction. Veins of the leaf is filled with vascular bundle. Vascular bundle consists of xylem for conducting water, phloem for translocating food. There are two types of leaves, namely isobilateral and dorsiventrally flattened leaves. Dorsiventral leaves possess both palisade and spongy parenchyma, which is common in dicot. Isobilateral leaves possess either spongy or palisade parenchyma, which is common in monocot leaves. In this topic, you have learnt Angiosperms are flowering plants with around 260,000 living species. They provide us with food, clothing, fiber, medicine, and timber. They are ubiquitous and herbs to trees with conducting tissue and secondary growth. Ovules are enclosed within the ovary. They have been divided into two classes, Dicotyledons and Monocotyledons. Monocotyledons possess only one cotyledon in their seeds with fibrous roots, having parallel venation in their leaves and flowers with perianth of 3 or sets of 3. Dicotyledons possess two cotyledons in their seeds with taproot having reticulate venation in their leaves and flowers with distinct calyx and corolla having 4 to 5 or sets of 4 to 5 floral parts. TS of root shows outer rhizodermis, middle cortex and inner vascular region. Dicot plant shows tetrarch condition and monocot plant shows polyarch condition with big pith. The transverse section of the dicot stem has cuticle covered epidermis and well differentiated cortex and concentric circle of vascular bundles with cambium and medullary rays. The transverse section of